Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? It is Friday, and that means it's time for Muppin's Sewing Emporium. How are you doing this fine feathered evening? I am doing wonderfully well, and I hope that you have had a wonderful break since I've been away. It has been quite a few weeks since I've been here on Facebook and on YouTube. My goodness, it's been weeks, and for that I apologize. Lots of things going on. Quilt Week was the first of those things. We had an amazing quilt week and was very, very excited to see everyone who came to town. If you were here for quilt week, thank you so much. We've had I would say our best quilt week ever, and we in our 4 years that we've been here, it was up till now the best one. So thank you all so much for coming out, seeing our shop, spending time with us. That has been amazing. And yeah, so what else is happening? We went to Chicago for H&H Americas, which is the trade show where we buy some, not all, but some of our fabric. And that was the very first full week of March. And so we were away in order to go and do that. And so we've kind of had a little, just a lot of different uh, trying to get things back into shape. First and foremost, it feels like the store was completely wiped out of product, but now we are almost back to full regalia, full stock in the store. um I don't know if you heard while we were away, well, during quilt week, I should say. Let me just back up a really quick second. So here in Paducah, there is a at the National Quilt Museum is Tula Pink's exhibit, and we knew that Tula was coming to Paducah because she was doing a book signing over at the museum. And so we were like, okay, well, if there's going to be this book signing at the museum, then we're going to hello Joy. If there's this book signing, then I'm going to just reach out to Tula and see if she will come to the store. And she did reply, and she said, hey, if I come to your store and do something official, I'm going to have to do that with all of the stores that buy from us. And I'm like, hey, no, that makes 100% sense. And if she takes too much time away from the things that, designing and things like that, then obviously she's not going to have, enough time to do those things if she's too busy going to shop from shop to shop. So I said, no problem, not a big deal. I totally understand that, because trust me, I totally get it. And I asked if you were just in the area and you were felt like stopping by, would love to see you, right? And that was where I ended the Tula thing. I wasn't gonna push, wasn't gonna beg, I wasn't gonna ask. It was all this thing. And then in March, the guy that does all of Tula's videography when you see her being filmed for her Tula Tuesdays videos, is her brother Cameron. And uh, again, I met Cameron ages ago. Want to say like at least 10 years ago. And I know that he and Tula work very closely together, and then it's a family business. And so it was really, really cool. So here comes Cameron into the store in March, and I'm like, whoa, what are you doing here? And he says that they're dropping the quilts off at the museum for the exhibit. And I was like, that is cool. And one of the things that, if you don't know, I want to say it was Tula's collection called Homemade. Okay, so that was the collection in question. So Tula Pink had put out this collection. It was called Homemade, and it had like scissors and notions and sewing machines and all kinds of stuff on it. And that year, Tula was the keynote speaker at Quilt Market, which is again for trade, for shops and other things. So, um, so Tula is given that speech, and we were all given these like goodie bags, these like gift bags. And I've kept this gift bag for like 10 years, or maybe more like 6-7 years at that point. But anyway, kept this goodie bag, and in that goodie bag was a sticker, and the sticker is like yay big, and the sticker says support your local quilt shop. And I don't know why, but I kept that sticker and I didn't stick it to anything. Right. So that was like the thing. Mariana's here. It was so good to see you during Quilt Week. Thank you so much. It was very exciting. I took a great picture of Mariana and I. I'm going to put it up on social media tonight. So I kept that sticker, didn't stick it to anything. It was kind of it was just kind of like support your local quilt shop, right? Could have stuck it to my car. I could have done anything with this sticker, but I kept it. And when we opened the shop, the very first thing that I did was I dug out that sticker and I stuck it to my window. And it's one of the stickers you see when you come into the shop. There's like a little alcove, so there's my door, and then like off to the side over here is like a little window, and in that window was the sticker way down at the bottom. Okay, and I have a badass Quilter Society sticker there, and I've got like Pride organization here in Paducah. I've got a sticker for them. So Kathy from Memphis is here. Hello, Kathy. How are you? So Cameron comes in. It's March. He's dropping the quilts off at the National Quilt Museum for Tula. And he sees this sticker. And I'm like, yeah, I've kept this sticker for years waiting for myself to have a quilt shop to put the sticker on. And Jody is here. Hello, Jody. How are you doing? So I have this sticker, and he's like freaking out over the sticker. He's like so excited that someone has this sticker years later. And we start chit-chatting about the sticker and all of this, and I just said, it would be great if you get a chance, if you guys aren't busy, you find yourself with nothing to do, come on by. Would love to see you again, and I would love to see Tula. And so he was like, oh, you know what, I think we can make that happen. And And I was like, hey, if you get a chance though, here's my card. Call or text me and let me know so that I can like be ready. They gave me 10 minutes notice on Thursday, the day that Tula was doing her book signing at the National Quilt Museum. So let me tell you about this day, this Thursday of Quilt Week. We get to the shop at 9 o'clock. Laurel, how are you doing, my friend? It's good to see you. We get to the shop at 9 o'clock. The Tula signing is at 9:30, and we drive past the National Quilt Museum, and that line for Tula Pink is outside, down the block, and then like down part of the street again. I mean, it was wrapped around the building. And I'm like, oh my gosh. One, I thought, well, she's never going to get out of there. And two, I was like, well, I guess she won't be coming by the shop. I was like, there goes my opportunity to see her. Whatever. And I was cool with that, right? I was 100% cool because, look, we were having a great quilt week. That could be like, that would have been the cherry on top, but it was completely unnecessary. We were having a very good time. Oh, Jody, thank you. This is a scarf. It's actually two scarves that I sewed down the middle with some buttons. Yeah, I know. It's very fancy. It's like a fancy scarf top. So anyway, so then Tula, she's doing her signing starting at 9:30. I am like, we start getting so busy, I completely forget that that's even going on over there until some of our customers are starting to come in and they're like, I was about 30, 40 people from the end, so she might be coming over here. Another person came in, our good customer Jackie. She says, oh, hey, you know I had her sign, she had made the big beautiful bow, which we carry in the store, the pattern, the big beautiful bow. She had made a Tula big beautiful bow, which was amazing, and she brought it for Tula to sign. And Tula was like, this is the coolest thing. And she goes, I bought it over at Muppin's. And Cameron and Tula both say, oh yeah, we were meaning to go over there. So Jackie comes in and she's like, I think she's gonna come by. Well, and then I'm checking my phone and I'm like, oh my gosh, there it is, the text message that says we're on our way. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I turned to my husband and I am freaking out. Okay. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's on her way. What do we need to do? And it's like the whole place is full of customers. And I'm like, there's literally nothing to do. Like the store is clean, it's just amazing, right? So I was like, okay, just get ready. So we see them walk by the front window. They come in, and of course, Tula's lovely. And I'm out on the show floor. My husband is standing he stands usually in like one of the corners. He just kind of tries to keep an eye on if anybody needs any help or anything. And then Sonia, our amazing helper during Quilt Week, Sonia is like running the register at like a champ, and so all of a sudden, like the whole place is like, Tula's here. And I'm talking to somebody and I'm showing them something on the show floor, and they asked me, "Do you think that Tula would be okay if she would she sign something for me?" And I'm like, "I'm sure that she would sign something for you. Absolutely. I'm sure she just ask." Because I feel that way too. Like, as a person who's a celebrity and who's often confused for Tula Pink, even though the two of us do not look at like each other at all. Um, she was like, "Do you think she would do that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course she would do that. So, just ask." And so, um, we lent Tula a Sharpie, and she went and signed a whole bunch of things. And then, and that was amazing. She was so, so sweet. And then she found all kinds of goodies in the store. And then a couple of weeks ago, on her Tula Tuesday video, she showed everything that she bought in our store. So this is just to say that we've had a very busy few weeks because I feel like the the whole Tula thing is just like it. Do you know? I'm going to call it something, and if you are a longtime fan of Stephen Colbert, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's called the Colbert Bump. You know what the Colbert Bump is, you know what I'm talking about. So essentially, um, if you talk about your product on Colbert, when it was the Colbert Show back on Comedy Central, there was this thing called the Colbert Bump, and your product would just get elevated, and all of a sudden, if you were online stuff, your online orders would be nuts. Well, we got the Tula Bump. We got the Tula Bump, and I couldn't be more grateful. I couldn't be more um appreciative. I couldn't be more like excited, but also like, thank you. Thank you to everyone here who is a new fan of ours because of Tula. We appreciate you. And so, um yeah, and we took one of our very famous photos where Tula puts her arm up like this, and I fit right here. That's how tall I am compared to Tula. And so we got to recreate that photo in the store, which, you know, I just love it. I just like couldn't be, she's part of my little um dream shop, Katie, I was in last week uh to your store. I love this store, and thank you for the conversation. We love your energy. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We have had such great customers during Quilt Week, during the last few weeks in general. Can I just tell you that the museum's exhibits right now are chef's kiss? Yes, one of them is Tula's. Um, the Janet Stone quilts, unbelievable. The Latifa Saphir quilts. And if you don't know who Latifa is, she is the co-founder of the Modern Quilt Guild. And so to have those like superstars in the quilt museum right now, it's just like, and it's up. So Latifa's exhibit comes down in July. So between now and July, if you want to see the Latifa along with the other two, you're going to need to come soon. But Tula's quilt exhibit is up till September. And you need to make your plan to come to Paducah before that ends. because it's that good. And there's a little surprise, which I'm not really like revealing anything about it. Did I tell you about our new water bottles? Um, the surprise is that her sketches, her actual pencil sketches for some of the quilts and for some of the artwork for the fabrics is on display with the quilts. And that was a huge surprise to me. That to me was so good. Joy, they are so amazing right now to have the artist sketches next to two of the exhibits. Right. And so not just Tula's has the sketches, but also the I'm totally drawing a blank on her name. Not Latifa. It's right there. It starts with a J. I'm having a moment. Janet Stone. They're just a step above. They really are. Now, if you don't know who Janet Stone is, her ABC quilts, yes, her alphabet quilts. She is a multiple best of show winner at the AQS Paducah show, the AQS shows around the country, the International Quilt Festival in Houston. She's won every top award with these quilts. So you are seeing like the best of the best. Like the best of the best. Janet Stone. Thank you, Kathy. I did say her name earlier. I knew her name. I'm just having that moment. It was so good. It was so good. And we are hitting on all cylinders here in Paducah right now. The museum is going to have some real challenges to top this. And I am so like, we have had so many people come in and they're just like, oh, I'm here for the museum. The museum is got something I must see. And they're coming for these exhibits. And I'm just telling you, you do not want to miss this. Okay. I do have some other thing to show you, and I'm gonna just pull it up. I'm just gonna pull it up real quick. Because this is not going to do this justice at all. One of the things that so we did not open the shop last week on Saturday. So we were not open a week ago Saturday. And at the time, we had just been closed the week before because of the trade show that we went to. It was like this whole big mess. And I was really nervous about being closed an extra day. But I have to tell you, I am so glad. I don't often get to say this, but I was glad that I was closed because my husband and I drove to, and I'm pulling up the picture now here so I can show it to you. There it is. I just got to find the right picture, because it's like they're so good. So we went to the I don't know what you call. Oh, it was the Kentucky Historical Society. Now, before you think like Kentucky Historical Society, like what is that? It is just a Kentucky History Museum. And all right, so let me throw these images into the computer here, and you'll get to see these because they're just Now this is not going to do it justice. Just be aware. Okay? But this is that doesn't get any bigger. Well, boo. Let's see if I can make it bigger. Oh, that is not right. Okay. Um so this is the what is often called the graveyard quilt. Okay, and it was done by Elizabeth Roseberry Mitchell, and this quilt dates from the 1830s, and it's a full completed quilt. Okay, so it's a full top, or it's quilted. And one of the things that I want to point out is that you can see around the bottom edge right here, there are little coffins. They're quite literally coffins, and you can see there's like a little picket fence and everything. And so what this was a way for Elizabeth Roseberry Mitchell to commemorate the passing of her children who passed before she herself passed, but she was very wanted to commemorate them in some way. And she initially had a quilt top that she had started with the information of the death of her child, and she never finished that top, and then later made this quilt, which is finished, backing the whole thing. And as people in her immediate family, each one of these has a little tiny slip of paper attached to the coffin. And as the people passed, they would be moved. Their coffin would be removed from the out border and into the cemetery in the middle. And so, look, before you are like, well, Cheryl, that's right up your alley. Okay. This is up my alley for a bunch of reasons, and not because it's made of coffins. Okay. Yes, there's a lot of skull imagery and things going on, but as I say often, the skull imagery thing is not what you think it is. It is because the skull imagery in fine art is the memento mori, and a memento mori is to remember that you will die. Okay, it's not a creepy thing. It is not a. It's not a. It's not even a sad thing. It is meant to remind you that you must live your life, because we all end up in one place all the same, that we cannot escape. So this woman took her grief and sewed it into these quilts. Now, I'm sure that you're thinking, well, Cheryl, of course you would travel 4.5 hours one way just to see a quilt that has coffins on it. And you would be right. But not for the reasons you're thinking. And that is because this was the very first time that the quilt and the other top, the uncompleted quilt top, the top that was never finished, were on display at the same time in the same place for this one day only. And what's really interesting is to see here the difference between the border. So you can see that it looks like she tried to make a pieced fence. and not so much the applique fence. And so this top was never finished. It does have in the center, is very similar in style. So like the stars are the same, the center graveyard is the same. So it does have a center graveyard. It does have that walkway to the cemetery kind of thing. And in the top, there is a coffin way in the center of it. And what's interesting is that the name of her child is embroidered onto the actual fabric. So it is, there are a lot of things that say why these are exactly the same person, but most of all, it is because they are, they're commemorating the same death. And the top was never finished and actually is in a separate Kentucky museum. And so this collaboration was to bring these two quilts together for what is believed to be the first time since they were owned by the same person. So we're talking like hundreds of years, or not hundred, well, at least 100 years before these were together. Kathy is asking, what year were these made? 1830. 1830s. So not, I mean, they are early quilts. Just so amazing. Like in every conceivable way. And like the outpouring of grief into this quilt top that then becomes later a vehicle for her to record the passing of her family members. And she left spaces. You can see some outlines. She left spaces for her sons to marry and to possibly even add grandchildren to the quilt. And so it's just lovely. Very brown. Very, very brown. And just very delicately quilted. There's just the little slips of paper that are still attached with the names of her daughters, the name, instead of her and her husband's names, she wrote mother and father. So that was her and her husband, mother and father. Just lovely. Totally sad that I had to close the store, but truly to me, this was like a once in a lifetime thing to see. And I mean, you can see how close I'm standing there to the quilts. I mean, I think we were like, I don't know, like this far apart. I mean, we were not far away from these quilts at all. And it was incredible. It was incredible. And to see the top, and I am working on putting up some better photos through Facebook here. And you can see some, I believe, on both the Cheryl Sloboda page and the Muppin Sewing Emporium page. I have it on both because I know you guys are watching from both pages. So if you get a chance to see the pictures that I put up, please do. Now, here's the only, and I've like one minor quibble, one teeny, I mean like the teeniest, tiniest quibble. And that is, as you can see in this picture, the tables that these quilts are on are pushed up against that wall over there. And so you could only access them from three sides. So there was a point at which I would have liked to have seen the top edges of these two quilts, and you couldn't access that at all. Minor quibble. I'm seriously not complaining at all, okay? But like it was really cool. And you know, these two quilts are not held in what I would consider a quilting museum. The full quilt, the actual quilt, is held by the Kentucky Historical Society in Frankfort, Kentucky. And this quilt is rarely on display. It is not on display much at all. The top is owned by a different museum, and that one is also not on display. You have to imagine, like, being from the 1830s, the fibers in this cotton is so delicate that, yes, light exposure will degrade these quilts very, very quickly. So if you've ever seen a historical display of quilts, I've been to many of the Baltimore album quilt displays in Baltimore over the years, and they actually dim the lights. And so if you're, it can be frustrating because you're like, I can't see anything. Right? And these quilts are very brown. So it made it really tough to see the details. And so a lot of times what we were doing is we were taking our phones and we were like zooming in and really kind of looking at some of the details like on our phones. So would she have used these quilts or just hung them on the wall or something? So the very cool part about this exhibit was that or I would call it exhibit because they were literally there only for that day. And it was because it was part of a symposium on historical quilts and specific these two quilts, or quilt and quilt top. So they believe that the quilt top was not finished, probably from grief, probably because as a maker she was unhappy with how it came out. And so they know that that one got like packed away and then was used sort of as a template for the other quilt. And this quilt, they don't believe was used as a quilt. It was a bit of a family treasure. I don't know that it was hung on a wall. They say that there's nothing showing that it could be hung, like, so we think of a quilt that has like a traditional quilt sleeve on the back. That doesn't exist on this. So was it just put out at family events or when someone passed or whatever? Yes. But was it slept under? Probably not, because of the little slips of paper that were attached to the little coffin shapes. And even the little coffins in the center, they have names on them as well. So I would say, like, from what the experts were saying, no. They were not used as we would use a quilt or as they would have used a quilt. The other thing that was really interesting, and I noticed it right away, my husband picked up on it too, these very dark brown squares. The very dark brown squares are a paisley, a brown paisley that is the exact same paisley that's in the top. So the two quilts have quite literally the same fabrics in them, which was really, really interesting. Um, which means this woman had quite a bit of it and also held on to it for some time. The other thing that we know about the two quilts, that I learned in this symposium, because some real experts, including a woman who has a PhD in uh, in about Kentucky quilt making, which is fantastic. She said that you know the top was made when the Mitchells lived just over the border in Ohio, because that is where that particular child passed away and is buried. So they believe that the top was made when that child passed, because that's the name that's embroidered in the center on that top. That quilt was made in Ohio, and then they bought land in Kentucky, and that's when the actual quilt was made. The quilt was made in Kentucky. So kind of a huge thing for me in my journey on learning of about Kentucky and about Kentucky quilt making history. There's a great book called Kentucky Quilts and Quilt Makers. And it's a recent book. It's from 2024, I believe. And talks all about the, you know, multiple hundreds of years that, quilting has been happening here in Paducah, or not in Paducah, but in Kentucky. And it was just very fascinating. So if you ever get a chance to see and you never know, your little local museum, your little local history museum might have some quilts. And I thought that was really neat. And so I was very sad to shut the store down for a day, but I also, it was kind of worth it. I hate to close my store at any time, but that one was very cool. Anyway, and so again, look on Facebook. There's a lot of pictures that I'm going to be putting up. Some of the close-ups of the fabrics, some of the close-ups of the little coffins with the papers on them. It's just fascinating. And again, I don't come at this from a place of morbidity. I come at this from what incredible art comes from the expression of grief, what comes from the wanting for her child to be remembered. And that the as quilters, right, we leave our good works behind us. We make these quilts and we hope that people remember us when they look at them. And I have many things that I own and that I look at them and I remember. And I love that thing, because what happens is it's a reminder that we all need to just go and live our best lives, and leave behind good works. And so anyone who says like, "Oh, I don't get the skull, why the skull? The skull is so creepy." That is it. Oh no, there were they do have a photo. There is a photo of Miss Mitchell, Elizabeth Mitchell, and it's one of those like stern, looking straight at the camera kind. And this is not the time period where you would have taken a photo of the deceased, which did become a thing more. And so here's another side of it, and then I don't mean to like go on and on about it, but like, it is kind of like it's kind of like a cool thing for me. But let's see if I can get this back up. Um, so this was made in the 1830s, and there were very, I want to say that there was like no way for. So when we think of like mourning rituals, and I mean MOURNI, ing. So like, oh, you're crying, you're in mourning. That really, we equate that to the Victorian period, and Queen Victoria, who mourned her deceased husband, Prince Philip. Or sorry, that was Queen Elizabeth. Prince Albert. Prince Albert passed, and she was just devastated. That was the love of her life, and so she wore black the rest of her life. And we like a lot of the rituals that we associate the with mourning in public, right? And the wearing of the black and the covering of your mirrors and all those traditions, those superstitions almost, they are more Victorian times. Now, some of the things that they did earlier than that, which would be when this was made, is more what they call Georgian time period. Okay, so you think of Edwardian and Victorian, and those are basically when the certain kings were in power. And this would have been made in the 1830s, which is near the Georgian time period. And they did have mourning rituals. They had the full wearing of the black. They had the the remembrances, okay? And that's exactly what this is. Now, in the Georgian time period, they often wore memorial jewelry. So a lot of it would have been in memory of jewelry. It would be like rings, and I'm pointing to this one because that's what this is. Okay, this is a mourning ring. And it what they do is they would have symbolized their grief in something tangible that they could bring with them, like that they could wear, that they could look at, because they didn't have a lot of photographs. So when you think of like that time period when they were photographing like the deceased, um, that was a Victorian time period thing. So that was not something that was done during this time period. But remembrances of people, yes, that was done. The wearing of black and, for a certain time period and all of that, that was done during this time period. So for her to lose her child and go into mourning, was a big deal. But also in rural Kentucky, you may not have had access to something like being able to have a ring or something made. So she did her own, and this gorgeous quilt. Um is just a huge testament. Now, here's the other thing, and let me see if I can find. I know I only have a few minutes left before the video. We're done for the evening, but I just gotta find a picture of this um, border for you because it's just stunning. Let's see if this one's a good one. So, the other part of this is there's truly, truly some masterful work on here. Okay, here's a good one. I'm gonna download that one. Here's no, it's got to be one of these. Yes, here we go. Oh my gosh, you guys. This is, I know, I'm sorry if this is boring. Okay. I'm just very excited about it. Okay. Pull these up. Okay. So this is the completed quilt. And you get a better sense of the truly masterful. Oh, thank you, Joy. I do appreciate that. I'm loving the stories. Thank you. So the applique on the fence is just gorgeous. But what shocked the you know what out of me was the embroidered rose trellis. And I'm not kidding, it goes all the way down. It's all across the top of the gate there in the cemetery, and then down the walkway, and then you can see just like the little slips of paper, and then you can kind of see the 8-pointed stars here, and that paisley, that brown paisley that takes up all of those dark squares. That would have made an incredible garment. And so, these are, you are talking like pre feed sack. Okay. These are imported fabrics that would have come from a long way away. And they would have arrived in Kentucky either through New Orleans up the Mississippi and then over across the top of Kentucky on the Ohio, or it would have come in from the East Coast and gone overland. So the fabric would have cost twice what it would have normally cost if you had bought it in one of the port cities. By the time it got to the middle of Kentucky where this woman lived, she would have paid double the price. And learned all of this in the symposium. I took copious notes. But the incredible applique for this delicate fence, and you can see the little archway, all the applique, and then of course the 4 coffins in the actual cemetery, one of which is hers, because her daughters, when she passed in the 1850s, her daughters removed her coffin from the outer border and put it in the cemetery. And that was the last coffin to be added. And no further coffins were added to the cemetery after that. So it is an incredible piece of family history. It's an incredible piece of Kentucky history. It's an incredible piece of American history. And just couldn't let that opportunity go, and not see it. And I mean, to see these incredible embroidered, just these little trellises of the sprays, you can see that she's even embroidered the stalk of the rose between the slats of the fence. So it was an artistic representation of a memorial garden, and a family plot. And to have one of her sons buried in Ohio, and not on the land that she and her family owned, after the fact, is just it's just so sad. um I do really just love uh the incredible story that this quilt tells. Was meant to commemorate births and deaths, and basically read as a family tree. And it's an incredible piece. um a lot of people, they call it the graveyard quilts, they call it the coffin quilt. There are other types of coffin quilts, which are quilts that are meant to be draped over a coffin. This is not that. Okay, this is a piece of art that this woman made in her grief. And yeah. So I felt like I should share that with you. Now look, we got all kinds of new things in the store. We've got, things, we've got stuff. You can all come in and take a look, but you can also go to our website and see it. And we've got Halloween fabrics up the yin yang. We have a new soft book that is a quilt shop. When you open it, it's the same as those little doll houses. It turns into a quilt shop. And we have been restocked on the little sleeping bunny panel. So we've got sleeping bunnies back in stock. We got all kinds of cool stuff. But I didn't the mummy panel is pretty cute. He is an adorable little dude. He was also a very fun make. So if you get a chance to see the mummy panel, you should definitely do that. Halloween fabrics, we are waiting on one collection. The More Than Bones collection should be here by the end of the month. It's not here yet. We are bated breath awaiting that collection. And not this weekend, but next weekend. Our son we are picking him up, and he will be with us for the summer. Kristen, thank you so much. I do appreciate that. Like I said, my husband often, he says, I don't know anyone who knows as much about quilt history as you do. And I said, well, that is very flattering. There are many people who know way more than I do. But I do make it my job to know the history of the things that we use in our craft. And from thread to needles to pins to fabrics, I am the kind of person that has to know like where they all came from. And so that's why when these two quilts, now look, they were only on display for that one day. The one museum packed up their quilt top and took it back to their museum, and the graveyard quilt owned by the Kentucky Historical Society, it went back into their storage. So I don't know when the next time is that they will bring them out, but it was an incredible opportunity. I do know that there is a quilt folk um Quilt Folk magazine did a Kentucky issue, and that quilt is in it. So if you want to have an opportunity to buy something that has more photos of it, that would be your opportunity. Jody says, I can't wait to get in next week. Thank you. We'll be here regular hours from here on all through the summer. So we are, as far as I'm fingers crossed, we are going to be open all summer long, 10 to 4, Tuesday through Saturday. And we are, I have a lot to talk about in the next couple of weeks. So get ready because we're coming back to the video every week now. And I'm pretty excited about that. So if you have any questions, drop them into the chat. I will try to answer them after the show. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy your Memorial Day. And of course, let's remember those who have served our country and given the ultimate sacrifice. And I hope you have a safe weekend. I hope you get some sewing done. And I will see all of you next Friday. Thanks. Take care. And bye-bye.